It's 9:07. This is the Rocky Boiman Show. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I always enjoy this kind of show this time of year. Obviously, most of the time I'm, pigeonholed to doing extra inning shows where I got to talk Reds, which I, of course, love doing. But I appreciate the opportunity tonight, this time of year, to talk about other issues. Now, one of those issues that is permeating our society these days is the transgender issue. Okay, it's a issue that certainly I would say not a lot of people know about. It's uncharted waters for a lot of folks, including myself, but it's certainly in the news. So what I like to do is if there's something that I don't know much about or I understand, I try to get information. You know, you read stuff, and more importantly, you talk to experts. You talk with people that maybe understanding or know inside knowledge of a particular situation. So that's what I wanted to do tonight. I want to bring on a guest. Her name is Jen Henderson. She's the Director of Technology at Possible, which is a digital agency where she oversees development of team marketing technologies for clients like P&G and JM and Conagra Foods and such. And she is a trans female. She joined us on the program right now. Jen, how are you?
I'm doing just fine. How are you tonight, Rocky?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for joining us here. First, Jen, just tell us about your life and I guess the process, maybe from the beginning of figuring out over the course of your life and the course of years that you were, I guess, born a male, but in your heart of hearts, you were a female.
So first thing to get straight is that every transition, everybody does it differently at different times. It's a sort of a journey of self-discovery. Some people know from the time that they're 2 years old. And for me, it happened a lot later in life. I suffered from a lot of depression, a lot of confusion. And it was with the help of my medical staff working with me to try to figure out what was going on with me. So I actually started physically transitioning a little over 2 years ago at this point, and I've been full-time transition both at work and at home for a little over a year now.
So when you say you didn't realize until later in life, I mean, I guess when was the first time you said, man, maybe, biologically I look like this and I'm supposed to be like this, but I feel like a woman? Was it when you were young? Was that the first time, or was it like in adulthood?
It's funny because I compare it to having dyslexia. You find a lot of adults who don't realize they have dyslexia until their 30s. And so, yeah, it was similar to that, where as a child, I just really didn't feel like I fit in with certain peers. There were groups that I really wished that I could have been part of and wasn't. And that sort of just kept leading on through my entire life as just a recurring theme of just feeling like my body didn't fit me and that I was uncomfortable socially in a lot of different situations. And when you add that all up, plus a lot of introspection, that's when, with the help of a psychiatrist, you suddenly start, putting two and two together and figure it out.
Now, Jen, I don't have to tell you this, but obviously this is an issue that not a lot of people know about. A lot of people are ignorant. So I guess for the person listening to this program that might say, well, this isn't physiologically possible. The medical books say this, and now I'm hearing different things. This is a phase that people go through. How would you answer that question to that listener?
Well, after knowing a lot of people, I will definitely say that it is not a phase, for one. There's no way in the world somebody would voluntarily want to go through what we have to go through as a trans person. The other part of this is that unlike other, decisions that you make in your life, you want to get your ears pierced or have a tattoo, those are decisions. But being trans is not. And in fact, they're finding more and more medical data to show that there is a significant difference between trans people's brains and straight people's brains as far as a trans woman matching much more closely to what we call a cis female, or a trans male matching much more closely to a cis male's brain. So there's a lot of science behind it. We don't know exactly why it happens or how it happens, but we do know that there is mounting evidence that this is not a delusion, and it's definitely not a mental illness.
Jen, I guess what would you say to, obviously the North Carolina bill is much in the news, the Mississippi situation with the whole bathroom issue, and knowing that, statistically I looked it up, this particular resource said there are 700,000 transgender folks in the United States. That's about 0.3% of the population. So I guess knowing this in relation to the bathroom issue, if you were someone, I guess, maybe on the other side, how would you address this? That maybe a small portion of people have this, and how should the rest of everyone else react to that?
Sure. So, and that's really kind of the point here. I think there's a lot of politics going on here, and because we are a very small population, we're a very underserved population as far as our employment. The normal employment rates for a transgender person, they're unemployed 2 to 4 times as much as the general population. So, we don't have the political clout to have people protect us, unfortunately. All we do is have the conscience of the people. Mm-hmm. That being said, I look at it like this, especially when it comes to the bathroom bill. I only want 2 things when it comes to the bathroom. I want to be able to use the restroom, and I want to make sure that there's enough toilet paper. Other than that, I just don't care. And so when I hear people say things like, that men will dress as women so that they can get into the bathroom and they can become titillated in some way, my response to that is that's already illegal. To go into a bathroom to harass somebody, especially for sexual pleasure, that's already illegal. So to me, it's very similar to the gun issue because, quite frankly, if I own a gun, it's legal to own a gun, and I'm only going to get in trouble by owning that gun if I do something illegal with it. I'm sorry, I'm a trans person. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go to the one that's safe for me. And I should only get in trouble if I'm doing something in that bathroom that I should get in trouble for. Mm-hmm. And as of right now, there have been literally no cases where a trans person has been reported to be harassing someone else in the restroom. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. We've had over nearly 23 deaths last year of trans people just because of transphobia. So we're actually much more in danger in those restroom areas than anybody else.
So, Jen, though, I understand everything you're saying, but what about the male listener out there that's worried about, say, his daughter that goes in the restroom, and maybe there's some person out there that wants to go in there to take pictures of his daughter? I'm just saying these are issues that people think about. What would you say to
if
that
he wants
father
to take pictures of his daughter, then he should be arrested. It's that simple. But if it's a person who's a trans person, who, quite frankly, most trans people you won't even know are trans, who want to go in there and simply use the facilities, and your daughter happens to be in there, the worst that I'm going to do is ask her to wash her hands before she leaves.
Jen, what would you say is the cutoff? I guess because a lot of the ambiguity is someone that maybe identifies with a certain gender, but maybe, I guess, physiologically doesn't look like that kind of gender. Right. You know what I'm getting at? Like, where's the cutoff?
I get what you're saying, and that's the thing is it's interesting. We've already had a case in the last few days where a young woman who was very masculine looking got into a restroom and got into the restroom she was supposed to in the female restroom and was actually harassed by the owners of the place where she was going because they thought she was male. We're starting to build up a lot of ferment about this. We're really starting to worry a whole lot about this. But quite frankly, in most cases, it's a non-issue. Mm-hmm. And I would say personally that when it comes to being trans, some people want to have surgery. Some people want to have, hormone replacement therapy. Other people simply just want to live their lives. And as long as they're not hurting anyone, they're not harassing anyone, they're just trying to survive just like everybody else, I'd say live and let live.
Jen Henderson joined us on the program. She's a trans female. She's sharing her story with us tonight. So, Jen, when it comes down to the North Carolina bill and the Mississippi bill, where do you fall on that? Do you just say, hey, they should be able to do this, and it's their own state, and they should be able to decide this, or this is ridiculous?
I very much believe in the separation of church and state. I think most of the push for this came from religious organizations who honestly just don't understand trans people. I was raised in a very religious home, and I read the Bible, and I know that it's more about loving your neighbor, and I don't believe there was any words in there at all about trans people, quite frankly. So when it comes to this, I feel like it's actually not the responsibility of the state to put laws in there that block a very, very small minority of people from using the facilities just like anyone else.
So, Jen, here in Cincinnati, obviously the issue that's kind of come about today is the issue with the woman, what was her name, Rachel Dovell, where she's asking, or she's wanting to know whether her insurance coverage can cover her, I guess, gender reassignment surgery. How do you fall on it? Did you feel like, I guess, insurance and essentially taxpayer kind of money should be going to something like that?
Well, and then that's very interesting because the city of Cincinnati, and I believe the county also already does have that coverage. So it's already from a taxpayer standpoint, it's already happening in the Cincinnati area. That being said, I actually have the same insurance that she has, the Aetna insurance, but my company decided to do the coverage for transgender procedures actually before I even came out. And I will tell you that's one of the reasons that I joined this company was because of how LGBT friendly they were, not only here in Cincinnati, but across the world. And so I knew this was a place that I wanted to work. When people start comparing it to cosmetic surgery and that kind of stuff, it actually sort of demeans what it really means. I mean, people get squeamish about it because we're talking about, surgery on someone's genitals, which we would all, take a deep breath about just thinking about. Yeah. Somebody does not do this because it's fun. It's because they have to do it. And for many trans people, it's a necessity. I would rather be paying for her surgery to make her happy than be paying for her mental health for the rest of her life, keeping her on antidepressants and whatever else she would need in order to survive in a body that doesn't fit her brain.
I guess a lot of people, though, Jen, would say, hey, when you're talking about socialized medicine and Obamacare and that sort of thing, where other people are paying for such a thing, and I know you say it's not cosmetic surgery, and I understand your side, but a lot of people may say, well, maybe it is. There's people that are transgender that choose to not get the surgery. So why the difference?
My feeling on it is, quite frankly, I don't want to pay for heart surgery for people who eat at McDonald's too often either.
I'll tell you what, Jen, that's a pretty damn good comeback. I like that one. well, Jen, let me before we let you go, I appreciate your time.
Sure.
Give me your, I guess, the biggest issue you go through, and then also I'd like to see paint me your perfect picture as someone who's transgender, has gone through this, and the ins and outs and the ups and downs of it. Like if you could paint your perfect picture of what this world would be like and how people would react to you, what would it be?
Well, I've been extremely lucky, and I'm one of the few who have had a very good later in life transition where it hasn't affected my work status. I'm still doing the exact same job than before I started. I'm visible. I'm able to talk to people about it. I'm happy to talk to people about it because I feel like I'm paying back for this stroke of good luck that I have with my life. I know that there's a lot of other trans people who aren't as lucky. My feeling on it is, quite frankly, that ignorance creates fear. You're not quite sure what trans people are about. I've never met a trans person. And I feel like my being out there and other people starting to be out there should start hopefully making people become much, much more comfortable. Because at the end of the day, trans people, like I said, are simply trying to live their lives as their true selves. And that's literally all they want. There's nothing else to it. There's nothing nefarious about it. And so to be out there and working with people and doing my day-to-day job and taking care of my family, I'm very happy to do that.
So in other words, like pretty much every other American out there, you want to live and let live and go on with your life, and that's fine, right?
That's exactly right.
Bingo. Well, Jen, look, we appreciate your time. If I know you're not really a front person for something like this, but do you know of any information if people are dealing with this or want to know?
Sure.
Do you have any sort of information or websites?
In the Cincinnati area, if you want a local resource, I would go with Heartland Trans Wellness. I'm actually helping their board of directors right now. They've just opened a new facility. If it's a child, Children's Hospital has an extremely powerful program for helping trans youth, because you do have to remember that one of the issues is because we are such a picked-on group of people, the suicide rate is unbelievable. It's near 40% where someone has tried to kill themselves because of this. Mm-hmm. We're trying to have not another Leela Alcorn happen. Right. We're trying to make sure that these kids actually are going to survive their youth and know that somebody who gets through this can actually have a normal life. And that's what Leela actually didn't think she could have, which is super sad.
Well, Jen, look, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the program, and God bless, all right?
I appreciate it, Rocky. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Yep, thank you. That was Jen Henderson. 513